Real stories and fresh wisdom on the front porch.
Oh, it's time for Reading Between the Words podcast, where you hear the story behind the book. You get to meet the author themselves and hear their story and the why for writing their book. Books of real life, stories that come to life. Fact or fiction, there is mystery, intrigue, and there's laughter. There may be books for business or how to overcome challenges, or who knows what the next book will be. Join us for another great book and guest right now.
All right, welcome to another episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch, and today we're reading between the words with our guest, Freddie. Freddie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about this book. I like your concept of chess and checkers and being happy and being wealthy and maybe being both. So if you have a copy, hold your book up and tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the book's called Playing the Wealth Game. I'm a wealth advisor. I own Opta Financial Wealth Advising Firm, and I wanted to write a book that that kind of explained the differences between what I call checkers, which is more middle class finance, and chess, which is more wealthy finance, like how becoming extremely rich or extremely wealthy,
Okay.
right?
So I want
So.
to ask you first, before we get into the book, you
Mhm.
talked about wealth.
Mhm.
So what's the difference between wealth and having money?
Well, I think that's a little different for everybody, but I would say when you're wealthy, you're able to do what you want to do when you want to do it with the people you want to do it with. So, that certain amount of freedom that comes along with it. So, but it really depends on the person, right?
Right.
So it's not, I wouldn't say there's a one kind of definition for it, but I think you kind of know when you are and you know when you're not. So,
Yes.
um, but yes, it's really about understanding finance, not like you don't have to understand it on a grand scale with all the pieces of paper that are behind my head. That's not necessary. But you should understand it on more of a basic level. But I want people to understand that there's two different games, and
Okay.
I want people to choose.
All right. So that kind of answers my next question of why you wrote the book, but maybe give us a little more insight on that.
Yeah, it's a self-discovery book. I didn't want to say things were right or wrong, right? I feel
Okay.
like that's too black and white. Um, I don't like reading that kind of stuff myself. So, but I want people to to go through like a self-discovery journey through the book.
Okay.
And so by the end of the book, my goals were to have you understand whether you are a checkers player
Oh,
or a chess player. Do you want, if you're a chess player playing checkers, how do I switch over to chess? If I'm a checkers player and I'm happy being a checkers player, I want you to continue being a checkers player and be happy.
there you go.
So it's really more of that whole kind of self discovery where it's not like right, wrong, you're doing something wrong if you're playing checkers or you're playing
Right.
chess. But I do want you to understand if you are playing checkers, you're not likely going to become wealthy. That's not likely going to happen.
Okay.
Um, you can be happy, you can retire, you can have a great life, spend time with the grandkids, all that stuff. And if you're going to play checkers, I want you to play checkers well. Nothing sucks
Okay.
more in the United States than being a bad checkers player. But if you aspire for wealth, especially generational wealth, well,
Yeah.
then you should learn chess
Yeah. So
if that's what's going
explain
to get you.
generational wealth. I know most of our listeners probably do know what that is, but I know there's some that are new and they're just hearing these words for the first time.
Generational wealth, in my opinion, is where you're starting out at a high level where you can immediately start using the tools that the wealthy use to continue to become more wealthy and
Right.
retain wealth over generations. I would say that would be
Yeah.
generational wealth, whereas a lot of people are kind of just have enough money to live out their lives, and that every generation starting back at zero, or sometimes even now at a
Right.
negative with the student
Yeah.
loans. So that's not generational wealth. Um,
So like
so
setting up trust funds for the family. So there's always something there. So even if they take something out, it's still going back in.
yeah, and people think like the trust fund, the proverbial trust fund baby, and it's like only for the super duper, wealthy people, and that is simply not true. It
Right.
is for absolutely everyone, to use these tools correctly, and and
That's
that's
that's the
the,
key.
that's the key, right? It's just using
Yeah.
the tools correctly, but understanding they are available for the even the middle class, upper middle class, and this. I would say that sometimes it's even more important for them because they don't have the luxury of making big mistakes that
Right.
others can make and still be fine. So it's
Right.
just really understanding what game you're playing and what is important to you. But I didn't want to say things were, this was the right way of doing it. Like, no, it's about understanding who you are and what you want out of this life, especially financially. And yeah, but by the end of the book, one thing you shouldn't be doing is screaming at the moon, why do the rich keep getting richer and the other people not, right?
Right. Right.
That's kind of answer to my, one of my
Yeah.
goals is to kind of answer that question throughout the book. Um,
And
it's
I think a
because people are
simple
not playing the
answer
same game.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Say it
Oh,
again.
I just said because people are not playing the same game.
Right. Right. And I think that some people don't realize that it's a matter of educating themselves and learning. And, I know I've heard from people that, well, you've got to have money to make money. Well, I don't have money, so how am I ever going to make it?
Mhm.
And that's kind of a cyclic attitude. And we need to start changing the way we're thinking. Is that correct?
Yes, and sometimes it is a good idea to become very good at checkers first.
Okay.
If you're in that spot where you're like, all right, I'm going to play checkers first. I want to get good at checkers, but with the mindset of I'm going to switch over to chess in the future, and but understanding that a lot of the chess strategies fly in the face of the checkers strategy. So you have to change, you got to rewire everything and how you think about your
Oh,
money, your
interesting.
attitude towards wealth. It like because it is very different. Um, but once people understand like how what chess is, then they can kind of relate it to themselves and understand. Well, am I following the right teachers? Am I listening to the right people? Because if you're a
Mhm.
checkers player and you want to play checkers, I want you to be a darn good checkers player and listen to good checkers, people who explain checkers very well. If you're a
Right.
chess player, I don't want you listening to those people at all. And I want you learning the strategies from good chess players.
So, can you go into a little more in depth of what it means to be a checkers player and then what it means to be a chess player?
Sure. I will say that the biggest separator between a checkers player and a chess player, amongst other things, but I would say this is the biggest,
Okay.
is your attitude towards debt. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're a checkers player, your attitude towards debt would be, I don't want any of it. I want to
Right.
be debt free, out, no debt, paying off my house, paying off everything, using, not using loans, using cash. That's,
Right.
in my opinion, good checkers strategies.
Okay.
Now, if you're going to play chess, your goal would be to be in as much debt as possible without over leveraging, but using debt correctly
Right.
to purchase cash flowing assets that are going to create more wealth for you. So using use it how your attitude towards debt really separates you, and there's no in between, in my opinion. Like you're
Right.
either a checkers player or you're a chess player. Uh,
Right. And I totally get that because the first time I ever heard about good debt or bad debt, and it's like, wait, isn't debt all the same? Isn't it just debt? And it's how are you using your money? Is your money working for you, or are you working just to try to hang on to it and not lose it? And that's painful.
is your debt working for you or is it working
Yeah, there
against
you
you, right?
go.
So
Right,
debt is like fire. If you use it correctly, cooks your food, heats your house, does great things, right?
right.
But if you let it kind of get out of control and let it do whatever it wants to do, and you're not monitoring it, you're not managing it correctly, it's
Yes.
going to burn everything to the ground, right?
Yeah.
So, how you use that tool will strongly dictate the mindset or even having the mindset, right? If you're just like,
Yeah.
no, no, I don't want any debt, I want to pay everything off, then yeah, you're a checkers player. And again, play checkers well, don't have any
Right.
debt. If you are a chess player, however, debt will help you become very, very wealthy if
Right.
you correct.
With the shutdowns right now in the government, I was talking with an acquaintance and we were talking about those that aren't getting paid. And
Mhm,
some, are getting paid like 500, just as an example only, are getting like paid 500,000 a year, and some are
mhm,
only getting paid 50,000 a year. And he's saying the ones that are getting paid 50,000 a year are going to feel the sting a lot more. And
mhm.
I'm listening to him talk about that, and I'm thinking, using your example, that's a checker's mentality because you can have 500,000 and still barely make it from paycheck to paycheck to depending on what you're doing with your finances. You can have 50,000 and still be very comfortable. It's okay. We're going to have to cut back a little, but we've still got enough planned ahead because we know how to manage or steward, whatever word you want to put in there. We know how to make our money work for us. And so, saying that, what are your thoughts?
The if you're relying on just your paycheck, that's it every single month, you are one step away from disaster, whether that's 50,000,
Yes,
500,000, it doesn't matter. Because if that paycheck stops, it all is the same number and that number is zero.
right,
So understanding how to create more wealth, more create more assets, create more, like people just say streams of income like it's easy. Like, oh, just create streams of income. Like, yeah, like things are gonna fall out of the sky. No, it's not that
yeah.
easy.
You have
But
to create them. That means
you
you
have
put
to,
the work
right.
in.
Yeah, exactly. You have to create the streams of income. You have to buy assets that create income that you can rely on. If one goes down, there's others, right? They usually, if you have enough, they're usually not all working at the same time for whatever reason.
Right.
Um, it's a great month when it does, though. But having those income streams, assets that create income, is the way to really enjoy your life, in my opinion.
Yes.
If you're playing chess, you're building these assets, and the income's coming in. Some of that money goes towards buying more assets. Some of that money goes in your pocket, and you use it to enjoy your life now, not waiting around 30 years for compound interest to work for you. Compound
Right.
interest is one, in my opinion, one of the most oversold concepts to the middle class.
Really.
Yep, it is. I mean, just sit there and watch your financial grass grow for 30 years. And hopefully at the end, if you're still alive, you can take a small income stream out of it and buy your golden wheelchair with it. I mean, like I just don't. This it's just the whole concept is just like I don't know. Because it doesn't do what people would like it to do. Now,
Right.
compound interest is real. It's math. It's irrefutable. But in my opinion, human beings just don't live long enough for compound interest to kind of save the
Right.
day, unless you started out with a boatload of money in the front,
Yeah,
right? Because then you're so far above the cost of goods and services where you can just continue to take
right.
that stream and the compound interest is going to work out great.
And
But
and you look at that further ahead too, and it's like, yeah, okay, so I pull it out when I'm 65. It's like, okay, so at 65, you have to think about these things. You have grandkids, you have family, everything is changing. Um, you're older, all that stuff you did over your whole life. Your knees are giving out, your hips are
Mhm.
giving out, you're getting doing things. I agree with you. You need to live life now.
Mhm.
When my husband and I first got married, he said, I am not going to have every paycheck go to pay the bills. I'm working hard for this. We're going to enjoy it. Now, we're still going to pay our bills. We're still going to get everything taken care of, but we want to live now and
Mhm.
enjoy what we have now. And for a lot of people, that's a really tough concept. Like you're saying, oh, look at this compound interest you're going to get. And it's like, well, that's great, but is it all going to go to your medical care? We don't know what our lifespan is going to be like. We don't know if we're going to have strokes, if we're going to be in a car accident. You have no idea what's going on. So you don't want to spend everything you've got now. You want to be wise, do the
Right.
investments, do what needs to be so you have the income coming in, but don't just rely on one thing in your future and then you've missed your whole life to enjoy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that concept is kind of force fed, especially on the middle class and
Mhm.
upper middle class. Um, and like you said, you don't get to enjoy your life right now. Like, and people say,
Right.
well, you got to live within your means. I would agree that to to an extent, but how I want people's mindsets to be is make more means.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
you and continue to live within those means. So the means are always going up and that relationship is staying constant throughout your life, but going in an upwards trajectory over time. Right.
Right.
So it that once you have that mindset, it's hard to go back. It really is.
Yeah.
It's taking taking the red pill or the blue pill in the matrix, whatever analogy you want to
Right.
use. It's once you become a chess player, it's really go back hard to go back to that mindset
Oh yeah, it's for
of the
those who
checkers.
like chocolate. If you've never had chocolate before and your life is going on, and then all of a sudden you're introduced to chocolate, and it's like this is amazing, and
Yeah.
so many different varieties of chocolate, then you kind of, as long as your body is handling it and you're not allergic to it, it's like you want to keep having chocolate. But
Yeah, and just
yeah,
without overeating the chocolate, right? So
there you go.
there
Yeah,
is an over leveraged component to chess that people need to be aware of. There is debt capacity, which is the amount that you responsibly should be able to handle. And then there's
right.
debt tolerance, which is the amount that you're okay with and being able to sleep at night and not worry about it all day,
Okay,
right? So
right,
those numbers may not be the same. So,
exactly.
but understanding where you are in that concept is very important. The fact that you're even in this bracket is more of a chess mindset. You can be a conservative chess player too, which
Yeah,
would be, which checkers players would still think is crazy, and that's fine. But understanding which game are you playing, I think, is the most important thing in
right.
finance, and that's why I wanted to write the book. That's why I wanted to get the messaging system out, um, because they're running away with it. I mean,
Yes,
they're
yes.
running away like the proverbial day, right? The 1%, which I'm technically in, but there's like an ocean in between the 1% and the 0.1% of the 1%,
Exactly.
like an absolute ocean, even in the 1%. So,
Exactly.
it, but it's the if we have like 300,000 financial professionals in the United States in some form or
Oh,
fashion.
wow.
If yeah, I thought the numbers were very high too. I was like, man, that's a lot. Um, but I want to challenge people's thought process on this. If we have 300,000 people giving very good wealth building advice, wouldn't the wealth gap in the United States shrink?
Almost definitely.
Right.
That's good
It,
thinking.
but it's not shrinking, it's expanding. And not only is it expanding, it's expanding at such a rapid rate.
Yeah.
The chart is like this.
Isn't that something?
It's just it's just crazy. And there, in my opinion, is like this paternalistic element in finance where the the banks, and this is not like a conspiracy thing. It's
Right.
just like this is how it's just set up.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
people get to choose what game they're playing anyway. But the banks, the investment companies, the insurance companies, they are kind of telling people to play checkers, but they turn around with the money and they're playing chess.
Yes, yes, I've been finding that out. I
Yeah.
agree. So I know I'm hearing this. I'm sure there's some listeners and viewers out there who are thinking, well, this is great, but this book sounds too complicated. It sounds like they're going to talk about things I'm not familiar with. It's going to take me a long time to figure out the terminology and what they're even talking about. Is that true? Is this book how how easy will it be for someone to just go pick it up, store wherever wherever you have your
Mhm.
book, but to get your book and then go through it and not feel lost and not be able to understand what you're talking about?
Yeah, I wanted the book to be very easy to read,
Oh, good.
um, because, in my opinion, those are the best books, right?
Yes.
Especially on subject matters like this. I didn't want to talk about the financial mumbo jumbo. I like using analogies. I like using everyday language. If I'm a big believer, if you can't explain something simply, that's because you just don't know it well enough.
Oh, good. Good.
So yeah, all the best personal finance books, they're all generally easy to read. Um, and the concepts are trying to take complex thought and put it into simple terms. So, and like I said, I wanted the analogies to be more everyday, right? Even the examples to be more everyday
Could you give
examples.
us an
So,
example from your book? I
oh,
know I usually ask the
sure.
readers to read something, but this is kind of a different type of book to read from.
Yes. Besides the checkers and chess analogy, that like I use an example of buying a car, right?
Okay.
It's so because I think most people have done that, and so a bad checkers play would be to just finance a car, right?
Okay.
Because you're spending all your money, the money's going to the bank into the to pay for the car. In 5 years, the car is depreciated, all your money's gone, and now you have a car with next to zero, right?
Right.
So that's bad checkers play. Good checkers play would be to drive a clunker for a long time, save the money in an interest bearing account. In other words, the interest is you are the benefactor of the interest, and then
Okay.
once you have the money to purchase a car, you're purchasing the car cash, and
Okay.
while you're driving the car, you're saving the proverbial car payment, what you would normally pay to the bank, back into the account. That will grow as you're making those payments and the interest over the same 5 years. And you can rinse and repeat this process of buying a car
Okay.
cash.
So you're
Okay.
paying yourself, really.
You're the benefactor of the interest payment. Okay. That is
Right.
a good checkers play. Neither of those are chess plays, though.
Yeah. What would
Chess,
be a
a,
chess play?
a chess play would be don't buy the car yet. Drive the clunker, save those payments into an interest bearing account. And when you have enough, don't buy the car. Buy an asset, use it as a down payment on an asset, maybe a rental property that's going to
Oh,
produce some type of income payment. The income payment should be enough to cover a car loan. Now you go get a car loan to
okay.
buy the car, and you let the rental income pay the car loan off over the next 5 years. Now, at the end of the 5 years, you still have all your money and the car. your money's sitting in the house, right? That you bought, the
Right.
rental property that you purchased,
Right.
but you have a car that's going to depreciate, right? That's still going to happen.
Yeah.
But you didn't pay for the car payments yourself. You could if you needed to, but you use the income from the cash flowing asset, namely the piece of rental property that covered the car payment for you. That is called covering your liability with an asset. And
Right.
that is where a lot of middle class and upper middle class families fail to do. They just buy the liability without buying the asset first. That's going to create the income stream to be able to afford or pay for that liability. And a car is just an easy one to use, but you can scale that out to I'm going to buy a hotel to cover my yacht payment, and it's all the same
There you go.
concept,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So,
Right.
yes, the yacht is going to depreciate in value, yes, but the hotel is not. So, and the hotel is going to continue to make have a stream of income from it. Same concept, completely different scale. So once
Right.
people understand those types of concepts, I think it makes it much easier for them, especially at a lower level like the car, um,
Right.
to start grasping. Okay, I understand the difference now on how buying assets first can help me cover liabilities, and those liabilities can be fun liabilities, right? Like my son's travel baseball stuff and my daughter's competitive cheerleading competitions that we have to
There you
travel
go.
all around the United States for. Yeah, that's enjoying life. But having those income streams, those assets producing the income that affords that type of lifestyle is it makes it a lot more enjoyable than working a bazillion hours of overtime to be able to
Right.
afford that kind of lifestyle.
Absolutely. So what happens though, like we had COVID hit and people weren't paying rent, people didn't have jobs coming in. So what happens in a situation like that?
I would say the biggest teaching point of COVID would be business owners, small business owners, right?
Right.
Who invested. One problem I see with business owners is they invest too much money into the business,
Okay.
and they don't purchase enough assets. Those assets being either real estate properties or other businesses that don't correlate with their business.
Okay.
Um, and so if there is a COVID type event where businesses are shut down, well, you still have the income streams from the assets coming in, right?
Right.
Yeah, the whole world can go to hell in a handbasket too, but the
Then
chances,
everybody's in the problem. That's
right?
nice
Exactly,
too.
right. So yeah, so if you have a doomsday scenario, then this is all moot anyway, right?
That's right.
But when you have different different asset classes set up and you're diversified amongst them, market-based assets, which is, stock market, mutual funds, whatever. Then you have real estate, then you have your businesses, you have, other commodity type investments, heck, even cryptocurrencies. Like you're diversified amongst asset classes. That's real diversification, in my opinion. So, and even in those different asset classes, you can be diversified within the asset class. So if you're a doctor, that has nothing to do with owning a laundromat, but you can own a laundromat, right?
Right.
And have an income stream from that, or rental properties. Rental properties is available for pretty, I wouldn't say everybody, but like a good amount of people can wrap their head around rental properties, right?
Right. Right.
I buy a house, I rent it out. People pay me rent because they don't want to be cold at night. It has people people understand that very well. So, and that's always going to be there regardless of some other market conditions, right? People are always
Right.
going to need a place to live.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's core things we need to think about. People need food, they need a place to live, and they need clothes to wear. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they need a place to have all of the refuse go. I mean, we need to, think about all the different things. and not just convenience of living, but what are the basic necessities, and what can you do to provide those basic necessities? Because people are going to need those no matter what happens. You know, had the shortage of toilet paper. It's like, if you own a toilet paper company, you would have been making off really good.
Exactly, right?
Financially
Or
invested in mine have been good that way. But I mean, just if you're serving the basic needs that people need, you're gonna be, I think, a little further along.
if you if you're
Correct?
providing value, if you're providing value,
Okay.
it is very the chances of becoming wealthy are much higher. You provide
Okay.
some kind of value to the world. When you do that, when you provide value, when your business is providing value, people don't resent the success. They're generally happy for you in a lot of cases.
Oh,
It's when
interesting.
it's when you're somehow taking, when you somehow are
Right.
living off of the unfortunate circumstances of others.
Right.
That's when the resentment comes in, and and that, in my opinion, can be a poor choice of a business model, right?
Right.
But
Right.
provide value, and good things happen, and take care of the people you serve, and money kind of falls out of the sky. But when it does, you need to buy assets and other businesses, and save some, take out loans, make
There you
you
go.
know do do the things that are necessary to enhance your lifestyle, because at some point all businesses fail.
Right. So before we
So
wrap it up here, I'd really like if you could explain to people what does it mean to the value when you say provide value, what are you really talking about?
making somebody's life better.
There,
So
there
your service improves somebody else's life.
you
That
go.
is providing value. I have a funny story in the book. I won't give it away,
Oh,
but unless you want me to,
just a little bit. Give us a
a little
little
bit.
taste of it.
Sure. I was on a double-decker tour bus in Miami when the going around all the stars houses, and the tour guide's explaining whose house is whose, and all these big celebrities. And then you get around the backside of the island, there's a house that just dwarfs all the other houses. It's absolutely massive. And everybody's like, wow, whose house is this? And the tour guide said, well, if I said the person's name, you probably wouldn't know who he was. But if you notice, the palm trees are the tallest and the stiffest on the island. This is the person who invented Viagra. And the tour bus, which was filled with you know, a lot of senior citizens, they started laughing and cheering and clapping. And it was so funny. Um, and and then one guy stands up in the back and he says, "He deserves every bit of this house." And everybody started laughing hysterically, and
Yeah.
it was a great time. And because everybody understood on the bus that this person provided value to that,
Yes.
especially that guy on the back of the bus,
Yep.
right? And so they were happy for him to have his name's Philip Frost.
Right.
Um, this magnificent house on Star Island in Miami, right? So again, you provide value, people are generally happy, even if you own one of the biggest houses in the country.
Right, right. Yeah, and the one thing that really amazed me when I lived in a small, they actually called it a village, but small town in New Mexico. And in that town, you would not know if you lived next to a multimillionaire or next to the poorest person in the state,
Mm,
because the multimillionaires knew that if they wanted to stay multimillionaires, they didn't flash it all about. And I understand that that's different for everybody. If
mm,
you have it, do what you want with it. It's yours. If you want the big house, get the big house. It's yours to do with as you please. But it was really interesting to get to know your neighbors and realize this neighbor's driving this pickup he's owned since it was brand new, back in 1968,
mm,
something like that. But he learned how to accumulate wealth, how to provide for his family, and so on. And sometimes you live next to one of the fanciest house, and when you got to know the people, they were so far in bad debt, I'll put it that way,
Mm.
because it was debt that if they lost their income, they would lose everything.
Yep.
And it's interesting how people look at different things. You can't judge a book by its cover,
Mhm.
but what really matters is the mindset, like you said, behind it. Am I providing for future generations by teaching them how to use money, how to use wealth, how to create the incomes? Or am I just barely making it from paycheck to paycheck? And if something happens, I'm going to lose my place.
Mm.
Uh, Very, very different concept. I enjoyed our conversation. I like learning about these different things, and I'm very curious about your book. I know I'm going to have to get it. So, where can our readers get your book? Our readers, our listeners, and our viewers.
Sure. You can find that on Amazon. It's called
Okay,
Playing the Wealth Game. It's on. You can get paperback. You can download the ebook for like 99 cents, or if you're a Kindle subscriber,
there you
you
go.
obviously get it for free. You can also get it on Audible.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so if you're one of those people like to listen to books in your
I
car or
do.
whatever, yeah,
I
I'm
know.
definitely one of those
I've
people
learned to
too.
love it.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't matter to me which way you go with that. I want people to get the information however they want, and understand the concepts and understand that there are two different games in finance.
Right. And is there a way to connect with you if they have questions or if they want to learn more or find out more about you?
Yes, you go to optafinancial.com. That's OPTA financial.com. That is my firm's website. Or you can just reach out to us. We have complimentary consultations for people who want to uh, possibly hire us as their wealth advisor. And yeah, it's definitely that's definitely our business, and we enjoy working with clients and helping them achieve their goals and especially getting to that next level, whatever that next level is to them.
That's awesome. Yeah, because once you've reached one level, it's like, well, hey, now I can go on to the next level and keep
Mhm.
going. So that's really good. Thank you so much for being here today and being my guest. And thank you, our audience. We really hope you got some great value out of this. That's the purpose of this show, is to bring value to you. And we do that through books and through wisdom on the front porch. So we see you next time. Thank you, Freddie, for being here. And thank you for being my guest.
I hope today's conversation on reading between the words gave you a glimpse into the heart behind the book and sparked something new for your life or business.
Thank you, my Front Porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review, then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.